Hello guys! Welcome back to my channel. It's me again, Lakwatsirong Butiki. Mula doon sa makasaysayang simbahan ng Santa Ana, Manila, ang National Shrine and Parish of Our Lady of the Abandoned o mas kilala rin sa pangalan na Santa Ana Church. Nakatawid na ang Butiki ngayon dito sa makasaysayan rin na simbahan ng Malate, Manila, ang Our Lady of Remedies Parish, o mas tanyag rin sa pangalan na Malate Church. Samahan niyo ako dito guys! The Our Lady of Remedies Parish, also known as Malate Church, is a parish church in the district of Malate in the city of Manila. This Mexican Baroque-style church is overlooking Plaza Raja Sulaiman and ultimately Manila Bay. The church is dedicated to Nuestra Señora de los Remedios, the patroness of childbirth. A revered statue of the Virgin Mary in her role as Our Lady of Remedies was brought from Spain in 1624 and stands at the altar. Malate used to be known as Maalat due to the saline waters of the bay, and as Lagio or Lagunoy, the name of the street which separated it from Ermita. It is located by Manila Bay, very close to the sea. One main street crosses it at the center. It is wide and beautiful and leads up to Cavite. The numerous trees make this road a pleasant walk. It lies just 3 kilometers from the center of Manila. The Augustinian chapter, held on September 18, 1581, accepted the house of Maalat as a house of the order under the name of Lagunoy and the advocation of the conception of Our Lady. In the chapter held on May 17, 1590, 3 resident priests of the monastery of San Agustin, Manila, were charged with the care of the natives of Malate. They were Fathers Alfonso de Castro, Diego Muñoz, and Ildefonso Gutierrez. The report of the Father Provincial of 1591 reveals that the House of Malate, together with Lagunoy, has 1,200 persons, convent and church. In 1639, the convent of Malate contributed to the patriotic campaign of Governor General Sebastian Hurtado de Corcuera, former governor of Panama, who brought Peruvian soldiers to fight against pirates with a donation of 2 bells of 7 arrobas and 7 libras. In 1624, Father Juan de Guevara brought from Andalusia, Spain, the image of the Virgin de los Remedios, which was said to be miraculous. It had graceful features, says San Agustin, was half vera high and slightly brown. Father Castro's version is different. I saw the image 1,000 times, writes Castro, but she never looked brown to me, but rather white with hands and face of white ivory. The devotion to the Virgin de los Remedios made Malate a very famous sanctuary. People flocked to venerate the image, especially on Saturdays. Women presented their babies to the Virgin. Except for a short time, Malate was always administered by the Augustinians. The priest of Malate also administered the town of Ermita from 1591 to 1610, since the two barrios had been united by Governor General Gomez Perez Dasmariñas with the approval of Bishop Domingo D. Salazar, OP. Pasay separated from Malate under the name of Pinida on May 17, 1863. Malate was also a place of recreation for the residents of the walled city and a meeting place for noblemen, Tagalogs, and their kings like Raha Matanda and Raha Sulaiman. It easily became the most aristocratic barrio of Manila where Spaniards and mestizos dwelt. In 1591, Malate had only one church and one convent. The church and convent dedicated to the Nativity of Our Lady were damaged heavily by the 1645 Luzon earthquake. San Agustin describes the latter as a magnificent work of arches and stone. Then, in 1667, both structures were destroyed on orders of Governor Sabiniano Manrique de Lara due to the threat posed by the pirate Coxinga. In 1669, the Father Provincial placed the convent of Malate under his immediate care and authorized the prior to use the repository of alms for the dead for the construction of the buildings. Father Dionisio Suarez began the construction of a new church, the second one, and convent made of bricks and stone in 1677 to 1679. It was completed by Father Pedro de Mesa in 1680. In 1721, the convent was in ruinous condition, and the coffers of the house empty. The Father Provincial sent a circular to the various ministries of the Tagalogs available. Furthermore, the convent was relieved of the obligation to pay rent to San Agustin Monastery. The money raised amounted only to 400 pesos, just enough to buy the materials. The construction work proceeded very slowly because the prior depended almost completely on funds of the provincial. In 1762, during the British occupation of Manila, the British occupied the church and turned it into their headquarters. Serious damage was inflicted on the structure. There are no records as to who restored the buildings after the British had taken leave. A typhoon occurred on June 3, 1868, which destroyed the church. Father Francisco Cuadrado constructed the third church, the present one, in 1864, almost in its entirety except for the facade. Father Francisco Cuadrado, then the parish priest, started the reconstruction. The Just One, as he was called by his parishioners, toured the city and nearby provinces to raise the necessary funds. His efforts paid off, and he apparently got more than what he needed. Thus, he was known for gathering the poor fishermen for his parish and sharing with them his savings. There was some restoration work which was headed by Father Nicolas Dulanto, who was also responsible for the completion of the upper part of the facade between 1894 and 1898. The next decades saw the church attract more devotees, but when the Holocaust of 1945 came, the church and convent ended up in complete ruins, and the records were also burned to ashes. During the Japanese occupation, both the church and the convent were burned down, leaving only the walls. The Japanese had earlier taken away Fathers Kili, Hinaghan, Munaghan, and Falyon, plus other parishioners, never to be seen again. Rebuilding of the church was undertaken by the Columban Fathers during the 1950s. They rebuilt the roof, the altar, the dome, and the transept, while the interior was painted, and the bricks and the stone outside were returned to their pristine color in 1978. The old convent was demolished in 1929. Father Gary Coogan built a new one in 1930. One of the remaining bells displayed at the entrance of the new convent was this inscription: Nuestra Señora de los Remedios. Si fondió en 30 de enero de 1879. Malate Church is one of only two that has twisted columns and has in effect a retablo-type facade, the other being the Franciscan Church in Daraga. Malate Church was considered to be a dangerous stronghold if captured by enemy forces, as stone churches outside Intramuros can be a convenient cover. When the British occupied Manila in 1762, they operated from the church tower and Manila was subsequently sacked. There is interplay of Muslim design and Mexican Baroque, says one writer. It is in the design of the facade where the significance of the Malate Church lies. The juxtaposition of Mexican Baroque and Muslim design has resulted in an interesting colonial style, Mudijarissimo Filipino, in the words of Alice Cositing in her book, Spanish Churches in the Philippines. Mula naman dito sa Our Lady of Remedies Parish, dito sa Malate, Manila, tatawid na ang butiki patungong Rizal next week. Uunahin ko yung makasaysayang simbahan doon sa Cainta, Rizal, ang Diocesan Shrine and Parish of Our Lady of Light, o mas tanyag rin sa pangalan na Cainta Church. Abangan niyo ako doon, guys! Bye-bye!